I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, can we find somebody? And
Recast.
Yeah, recast the main character and reshoot the whole thing. And we did do that.
God.
There's some things now that I'm like, ooh.
Wouldn't fly today?
I wouldn't write that today. If I could go back in time with the Gates, I would say, slow down, plan it out before you do it. Because there is so much of the movie that we did on the fly with a crew of 2.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Mediaverse Studios podcast. Tonight we have Tiffany Ketchum, all the way from Newton, Iowa. Tiffany is a screenwriter and a director and a filmmaker from years ago, and just recently started back up with a new feature film. How are you doing tonight, Tiffany?
I am doing great. How are you tonight?
I'm swell. It's been a week.
I think it has been for everyone with the cold.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's been so cold. So, yeah, I guess jumping right into it, kind of what's your journey been like as a filmmaker so far?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a roundabout journey.
Yeah.
I started off in high school doing drama. I was in 10 high school plays. And when I got to college, I decided I wanted to try writing a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so the first things that I wrote were actually like 2-minute short skits to be performed on stage. And then I wrote maybe like a 20-page play. And I was actually an education major. And I graduated with that degree. But I ended up loving media studies. I went to Buena Vista University.
Okay.
I'm a beaver. And they have a killer media studies program. But I didn't want to change my major. But It was so great that I could still be a part of the club. I was actually the creative director for 2 years. Kind of the students in there vote on it. So I got to do some Pizza Hut commercials, some Godfather commercials.
Whoa.
Yeah. Basically, we ran the commercial during the college football game. And then our crew gets free pizza.
No way.
So yeah, that was kind of my very first project that I did, mostly on my own. And then I wrote a movie. I didn't mean to. Like, I kind of was just 20 years old and fed up with relationships, basically.
Sure, as you do.
So I kind of wrote a rant that I was like, I love this so much. I think I want to try and do a movie. I knew nothing about it, but I had some wonderful professors that encouraged me and said, I know you're not a media studies student, but you have all these tools at your disposal. If you think that you can do it, and this was like a dare, I don't know how much faith they actually had in me, you do it. And so the end of my junior year, we started shooting. I did have a lot of help from the media studies students in teaching me about camera work and lighting and sound. And so I kind of got it on the fly training. And I spent the summer between my junior and senior year editing. We only had 2 scenes left. And again, this was a full-length feature.
Yeah, that's insane.
And then, so I will say, I was one of the main characters, which I'm retired. But the other main character transferred to another college and didn't tell anybody.
Oh, no.
And so my senior year, I had to go to everybody and say, I don't know what to do. And they're like, well, can we find somebody? And
Recast.
Yeah, recast the main character and reshoot the whole thing. And we did do that. One of the wrestlers who had no experience acting at all came in, meshed with the cast, loved being a part of it, and just was surprisingly an actor. Like, he was a gift.
Wow.
So yeah, that should not have gone down that way. But it was just for fun.
Sure.
Right? So
And you learned a bunch.
Yeah. And the second time around, I knew how to do things. So it was kind of a gift where some of the scenes that something wasn't quite right, that I got to redo it. I don't recommend that. And then my professor, when I was doing January student teaching, because I only had 1 semester of my senior year to do this in, it premiered in November, and he entered it into the Iowa Motion Picture Awards. And it freaking won.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what is happening?
Nice. What was it called?
It was called Chasing You.
Okay.
It's straight up romantic comedy.
Okay.
There's kind of two main characters from a girl's point of view, from a guy's point of view,
Gotcha.
of how much dating sucks.
Right.
Again, this was written from a 20-year-old mind.
Sure.
So I was excited to actually release that online this year. Now that I go back at it, I cringe, but this was made in 2010, 2011. So you have to watch it, the comedy, with that in mind. There's some things now that I'm like, ooh.
Wouldn't fly today?
I wouldn't write that today. Yeah, so that's kind of my coming of age story. And then I did do another film that bombed called From Here. I realized I love movie making. I had this instant success, which is unheard of. Yeah. And I got a camera, and I will admit now, I didn't know how to use it very well. And so some of the shots in From Here, it's a really cool little short, but there's a lot of overexposure. There's a lot of issues. That is online as well. I don't share that one for obvious reasons.
How can people go and see either of these movies?
So they're both on YouTube for free. You can just get on. You can watch Chasing You. You can watch From Here. And then I also did 3 of my shorts that I wrote for plays in college. I actually went back and filmed those.
Gotcha.
And those have much better quality than From Here did. I learned how to use the camera. Yeah, so then I got married and I had kids. I had 3 little girls, and I had a husband that was gone late nights and gone every weekend. So all I could do was be a mom.
Sure.
And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And I just decided, hey, I want to do this again. And if I could go back in time with the Gates, I would say, slow down, plan it out before you do it. Because there is so much of the movie that we did on the fly. With a crew of 2. And so I knew I didn't want to be behind the camera. I knew I didn't want to act in it. My strengths are definitely my writing. Yep. And I'm an adequate director. But I love picking out locations and bringing it to life. Mm-hmm. I didn't know I'd also have to do fight choreography. And I got very good at doing that, as it turns out. And then also special effects makeup. So... yeah, it was kind of getting good at things on the fly and realizing like, hey, the next time we need to find someone else to do this. And hey, I'm really good at this. So yeah, sorry, that was a really long journey, but.
Tell me about how the Gates started. Like, where did the idea come from, and then the process of writing up into, day 1 of filming? Yes.
So in 2020, I wrote maybe 20 pages of a musical, and it was called The Gates. It was about a con man who also sings songs, and it was awful. And so I kind of threw it away for a while. But then 2021 came, and I picked it back up again just because I had an idea of how to make it work. And it just, I want to say that in all actuality, I thought about it for 2 years, but maybe I wrote it in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so I'm one where it's like, I need to get the idea finished before I sit down and type.
And then from there, so you have your script,
yes.
Your version 1 of the script. Did you show anyone, or was it just like, hey, let's assemble the crew and get everyone together and start?
Yes. So the very first people I told about it was obviously my husband. He kind of read it as I was going. But I also showed Igor and Jeremy, who were part of the cast. Yep. They were part of the cast from day 1. This was like where I was writing it. I was like, I can see these guys in this role. Yep.
I loved Igor, by the way. Just what an incredible dude.
He is a character, and he just fit that vibe so well that I wanted. Jeremy was a little bit different. He was supposed to be more of a silent character, and then he comes on, and I realize he's a great actor. So it's like, well, I'm going to make more lines, more parts for you, because I love watching you on screen. You're doing awesome. Yeah. And so the script really changed and grew. The other thing was, so I casted probably the 6 main people. Well, I should say 5 main people right away. Originally, the villain was Mike. And I asked 18 different Mikes. And they would all be like, yeah, I want to do it. And then they'd read the script and be like, oh, no, man. I think I'm going to give away some of the plot. So I think because there's a child kidnapping in it, that turned a lot of people off. But I'm like, it's my kid. I'm there on set. Andrew's there. Yeah. It's fine. But I think that turned a lot of people off.
Interesting.
So I ended up calling my cousin in Minnesota, Morgan. Yeah. And she came down and Mike became Melissa. But Mike became Melissa like maybe a week before we started shooting. So we had a huge rewrite.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that that's what I needed to do to make it more unique and powerful. But everything happens for a reason. And I'm so glad we have a female villain.
She killed it. Like, she was a powerhouse on set. That was awesome to see.
Yes, I love seeing that from her too. And if you meet her, she's like the nicest, quietest, sweetest person. And then you see her being a villain, it's like, whoa.
Okay, so you've got your crew, you got your cast.
So we just had a cast. And
Just had a cast.
yes, I made a decision that I want to focus on directing. Like I said, I realized going into this, I've only directed like 2 or 3 things. I've never directed anything this big. So I want all my focus on that. So I reached out to the Des Moines filmmaker site and just said, hey, I'm kind of looking for a DP to work with me on this. And Cody responded and said, hey, I'm not in Des Moines. I'm in Newton. Hope that's okay. And
I'm in Newton.
yes, and I watched some of his music videos, and he did so many like blood special effects that I'm like, this is the guy for this project. So it was an immediate good feeling between us. I should also note, so I'm from Kyoto, population like 800 maybe.
I think I used to play your team in high school.
Yes. Very tiny. Cody's mom graduated from Kyoto.
No way.
And it's like, what a small world.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was just kind of fate that everything came together right when it was supposed to.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's when you know it's a good fit. You know, it's like, oh, if the pieces just happen to fall into place. It's like, still like scrutinize that, but also lean into a little bit because there's some magic that's happening sometimes.
Yes. And I want to say we started actually practicing and running it. It would have been beginning of 2023. And we only had like 80% of the roles filmed and no idea who was going to do our camera work. So that's where I love that I did that because it was such an adventure. But now I'm like, we're planning it out this time.
Yeah. How did you assemble the rest of your crew? So like what, was it just more of the kind of online connections that you made?
Yes. So I will say that aside from Igor being in From Here, this was every single person's first time being in front of a camera.
That's wild.
I very much wanted a newbie cast, but I also picked people that are performers. Sure. I will say this took so long to film because everybody's in a band. But that's just the thing. They're used to going up and entertaining people, and they have such personalities.
The gig scheduling is just crazy.
Yes.
Can I ask about why the decision to have new actors?
To be honest, it was a confidence thing. I hadn't done anything in 10 years. I didn't have any work to show that was newer than 2012. And so I just, feeling that green, I wanted green people to go on the adventure with me.
I like that.
Yes. I actually had to make a really hard decision. So we had one cast member that we did have to recast 2 scenes in, which was good. I caught it right away. Wasn't doing Chasing You again. And Rob Merritt actually reached out.
No way.
And I was blown away because he has so many wonderful film credits to his name and so much experience. But I was so scared about bringing someone in who's a secondary character to an all newbie cast.
Yeah. It sounds very intimidating to have someone as experienced as Rob Merritt come to your set and be like, you guys don't know what you're doing. That would be a nightmare scenario for me.
Yes. And so I was like, I want to work with you someday. Let me get this project done. But we found another Newton person who'd never acted before. And Gage playing Eddie is incredible.
Gage was great.
Yes.
Gage was great.
And so, again, everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. It wasn't clean. It was messy.
Yeah.
But we got there, and I will easily say it is probably the greatest thing I've done to date. But I'm also very humble where I look at it, and I'm like, I want to do this different next time to make it even better.
Sure. What were some of the bigger lessons learned that you took from just the production of this film?
Lighting.
Lighting. Okay.
Yes, we needed someone to come and do lighting, but for this, we didn't really do any fundraising. So it was all out of pocket for Andrew and I.
Gotcha.
And so doing that was just, we would have rather had the locations that we had and been able to do the costumes and the props and building here at Mediaverse. But now I look back and I'm like, oh, that lighting is cringe. I think in one of the scenes, the office one, it actually did not turn out as bad as I thought, but we totally got a Walmart lamp going on. So yeah, that's where it's like, Cody and I were taking on so many responsibilities. It was like one of us will do lighting, one of us will do sound. And going forward, I'm like, I want to find somebody that does these things, that really knows what they're doing, so we can hone in on what we're good at.
Yeah, if you can offload the responsibility of something as big as lighting or audio, it's a game changer, and it's going to add to the quality every time, I think.
Yes.
But you still pulled it off. I think you pulled off a really great thing. Let's see. So you finished it. How long did the post-process take?
The post-process we finished in March of 2024, yes. And so it premiered in August of 2024.
Wow.
So
it's a good turnaround.
Yeah, I will say Cody did some heavy lifting, because when I had edited before, I used Avid.
Ooh.
And so I was opening Premiere for the first time on a feature and trying to edit it all. So that's where it's like, it's a great experience. I learned. I'm much better at it now. But in the moment, like, I was like, thank God for Cody.
Yeah.
That he kind of stepped in and took over some of the heavy lifting, but I could kind of be there and still have the vision come to life.
Sure.
So, we actually did it pretty quickly. Got it together and up on the screen, which... for some of the cast that this was their first film, they're like, what's taking you guys so long?
You don't have it done yet?
Yeah, like, we've been doing this for 2 years. What are you guys doing?
Wow. So production, you said, took about 2 years, you said?
Yes, from the time that I finished writing it, and we started rehearsing, till we got the last scene filmed.
Gotcha.
I should say, till we got editing done and up on screen was in August.
So how did you go about securing all of these locations? Because you do have quite a bit of movement around this film.
Yes.
And you got some really big scenes.
So
big locations.
We really shot for the moon on this one. Yeah. There's a lot of murder scenes. There's 3 fight scenes. And we had, I think, 12 different locations and a cast of 20. Wow. So a lot of times with the locations, what I learned is that you have to show up in person. Iowans are so great about letting you film there. It's so exciting. But I also learned if you just call, they're never going to call you back. They're like, who is this with the movie? They think I'm with like a Sony cam hanging out in my basement, making it with my buddies. So that's where I had to go in person. And once I did, I got so many yeses. The one that we struggled with was there's a horse track racing scene.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how in the hell did you get that?
So, this was me, like, thinking, in that scene, there's only 3 cast members, and it's just Cody and I. There's 5 of us. I'll just go to Prairie Meadows and ask. And you know what? They met with me, like, 3 times, and then they finally were like, okay, you can film here if you have $1 million insurance policy.
That's what everyone wants, yep.
And it's like, for 5 of us, nope, that is not in the budget. So I called some jockeys, and it turns out like that is the only practice track. Like a lot of the practice tracks, I didn't realize, are also owned by Prairie Meadows. And so it was a no all the way around.
Sure.
So then I started thinking, okay, we can throw in B-roll for the horses, for crowds in the stands. And I wish I would have recorded this conversation. I called the Knoxville Raceway. And I thought, it's a dirt track. Yeah. We can keep the shots tight and do big shots with B-roll. And this poor guy was like, you're bringing horses here? And it's like, no. I need something that looks like a horse track. And he's like, we've never had horses here. I'm not. I'm not bringing horses. It's just like 5 of us. And he's like, okay, and it was free. He's just like, yeah, come by when we're closed. I don't care, we're happy to have you here. And
so that was Knoxville.
Yeah. It was the Knoxville track.
See, you fooled me. So
yeah, I went around to a bunch of different dirt tracks because I think Oskaloosa has one too. But their fencing was very much like, okay, this is for cars versus Knoxville has a really nice like metal grate that we could film through.
Cool.
And so, yeah, that was something where after Prairie Meadows said no, I actually emailed the Iowa Film Company, and they're like, rewrite it, man. And I was like, no, I'm going to find a way. So, yeah, with locations, we mostly stuck around Newton. And I know some of our more fun ones were at the Thirsty Turtle in Colfax. I probably went around to 7 or 8 bars, and they all said no. But I had to learn that in the film world, because I take things really personally, and I get kind of down with some of that stuff, hearing no a lot. And so I just had to say, no just means you have to find another way. And there are some things you're going to have to rewrite, you're going to have to redo if you want this to look like it does in your head.
Yeah.
But some things come together.
How did the Thirsty Turtle come together?
I literally drove around to I Googled bars in Newton and Colfax, and I went to, Monroe too. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I got a ton of no's. And the Thirsty Turtle was immediately like, a movie? Yes. And I think they have our movie poster all signed, still hanging up in their bar. So
that's cool.
It's great when the location you're at is proud to have you there too. That makes such a difference when you're filming versus being somewhere where it's like, okay, hurry up and get out. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that we were very blessed with.
Sure.
To find that many locations.
Wow. What kind of compromises did you have to make with the story? For whatever reason, resources or crew, whatever, that you couldn't secure on the day?
Yes. So a lot of our, I will say, smaller cast members that are only in a scene or two, I kind of did this a little bit differently where I did it on availability. So I said, we're filming this day. I need somebody in the bar to walk up and say this line. Who's available on this day? Instead of trying to cast an actor and then try and mesh schedules together, I made sure the main cast and Cody and I could be there. And then I would go in and say who's available. Because I will say the one hard thing about the Gates was not only did, Cody, who went on, I think, 2 national tours during filming, not only were we working around that schedule and everybody being in a band, because I have 3 kids, because my husband was the lead actor, I had to find daycare for sometimes 12 hours at a time, every single time before we filmed.
Wow.
And so some stars had to align.
Wow. I imagine so.
Yes.
Wow. It seems like he got pretty good at forcing them into a position.
Yes, I am a wonderful scheduler. I did
That's
not
what
know.
You gotta be.
I didn't know I had that skill until it was like, yes, this is working.
Yeah, that's some producer stuff right there.
Yeah, and so I will say that I very much I learned I really like producing. I like going out and finding locations, trying to make the script scene either fit a location or be able to find just a great location to say, okay, let's reblock how this scene works so we can have this location.
Yeah. The Gates is always going to have a special place in our heart because you were our very first set that we built here at Mediaverse.
Yes.
So,
something, again, I did not plan was I did not realize that fog machines make smoke alarms go off. And no business is going to turn off their smoke alarm for us. So that was kind of, but an oh shit moment.
Sure.
And I swear that I was looking for a place in January and you guys opened in January. So it was kind of like, here it is, the answer to all your issues with these scenes. And it was quite a few, but I will say that I was so excited to be here, but I was very intimidated too, because I remember when we walked in to kind of set everything up the day before, I think it was Michael that was like, so how big's your crew? And I'm like, just the 2 of us. But on the other hand, I was kind of like, I feel good. I know what we're doing. I got all the special effects in place. Everyone's ready to go with their parts. I kind of also had this really excitement about watch what the 2 of us can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it sells on screen because what we did, if the audience hasn't seen the movie yet, is that we took the Thirsty Turtle kind of motif and then we extended it into an office in storage room.
Yes, I sent you pictures of the faux brick. Can you put this on the wall? And and then it also had to be. It wasn't just 2 rooms. We had to do a lot of different special effects with the ceilings being open and dropping money, gunpowder down, and then doing the very end scene. I won't go into what it is, but it looks so cool.
It does. I remember you guys had Oh, ash from a barbecue,
gosh.
as you like the ash for the
Yes.
event that happens.
This was a movie where everyone pitched in, and I said to Andrew, I have so much on my plate. Can you figure out makeup? And he comes in with coals from his grill. And it worked.
It worked really well. But I remember I felt so bad because I remember grabbing a handful and throwing it in Morgan's face.
She is a champ. She took a lot of I should say abuse during the movie. So I'm like, I'm glad you're my cousin and we don't have to worry about.
Yeah, that was a really fun time having you here. And so I just want to say thank you from us.
Oh gosh, yeah, we absolutely
using
loved
us.
it. We're excited to come back someday.
Yeah.
And team up again.
So what is next for the Gates?
So for the Gates, we have 2 upcoming showings on March 15th. They're both on the same day. Mm-hmm. Again, stars aligning to get everybody to be available. The first one is at the Cedar Rapids Library at 12:30, Whipple Auditorium. And in that one, we're going to do a free raffle and give away some of our props and some posters from the movie. So you have to be there to get those, but totally free. And then the second one, I'm so excited about. So it will be at Kyoto High School in the auditorium.
Oh, wow.
Where I kind of started out.
Yeah.
And so I'm so excited to be able to do that for my hometown. And again, that's another free showing. It's at 6 p.m. And at that one, we're going to have a Goodwill donation for the drama group.
Wonderful.
And so, yeah, it's going to be a wonderful day. Other things we have coming up, I'm really excited. We're going to be on Steve Shetler's show. He's kind of local to the Oskaloosa area.
Okay.
But it's going to be a special episode where we're going to have 3 of the musicians. So we have 7 original songs.
There was a lot of original music in there.
Yeah, in the Gates. And so I believe Days Live Music and Brittany Sword and then my husband Andrew are all going to be there playing their songs. And then Steve's going to interview Cody and I in between. Cool. So that's on March 7th from, I think it's 11:30 to 12:30.
And is this a live broadcast?
Yeah, so it's a live broadcast.
Okay.
So kind of something different for advertising, but it's going to be so fun. And I love that it's showcasing the music in the Gates.
Yeah. Cool. And how will people find that again? I'll try to get a link in the
Yes.
in the notes.
So I actually just got confirmation who the 3 musicians are going to be today. Okay. So that's why I have not shared it yet. Excellent. But yeah, actually, as soon as I'm done here, I have that on my to-do list.
Nice.
To share the Steve Shetler show and kind of share what the lineup's going to look like.
Okay. Perfect. I'll make sure I get that in there.
Give me 5 minutes to get to my car and do it.
100%. Okay. Are you going to seek distribution at all with this film? Or is this just kind of going to
we are still talking about that. I'm kind of exploring options. I would like to, but I would also like for it to be minimal. We obviously want funds to continue doing what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But I also don't want to charge so much that people are like, oh, I'm not paying $15 for an independent film.
Right.
You can rent a movie on YouTube for $4. So that's where I'm still researching to find that middle ground. We will also be at the Cedar Rapids Independent Film Festival, April 4th and 6th. Yeah, I'm excited to see a lot of the films there because I'm finally recognizing people's names and getting to know the community. So I think that's going to be great.
Well, you're back.
Yes.
Heck yeah. Yeah, the Cedar Rapids Film Festival is awesome. I can't wait for you to check it out. It's a good time.
Yes. So this probably isn't something that filmmakers say, but I entered into 12 festivals and we were denied 11 times and each time it freaking hurt. And so Cedar Rapids for us was just yes, this is a win. Yeah. I feel like that, I can take this momentum into our next project. I feel like it's going to be easier to seek out grant money, when it comes to funding again and not have to, be paying for out of our own pocket. So it was huge for us to be able to get into that and to be up there with some other great films that I've seen throughout the years. Yeah. The year.
And that's the best thing about CRIF is that they have you could have a session with the judges, the judge panel.
Yes.
On the film. I highly recommend doing that if you can because they give awesome feedback.
Yes, absolutely. We definitely plan on doing that. That was kind of some of the hard parts about being denied in the other ones was there's no way you can say, like, is it quality? Are there like 500 films? You know, do the other films have like a $50,000 budget? Because we're not there. Someday. But, you know, that would make a little bit more sense. So just kind of having that without knowing. I'm very excited to talk with the judges and see how we can build on this and make the next one better.
Heck yeah. Awesome. So what is next for you?
Yes. So I have finished my next script and we're working on getting a short film made. I wanted to do a short to work with people doing sound, doing lighting, and figure out what the right fit would be before I ever dive into another feature.
Awesome.
So I wrote Littles, and I may have bitten off more than I can chew again, but that just makes me all the more excited. The entire cast is going to be children. And there's going to be a large Broadway song in the middle of it. I know. I know you're like,
I'm not laughing at you. This is an incredible concept.
I know you're just like, oh no. Can I be there on the day to watch how that happens?
I would love to be.
We might be calling in a lot of extra hands on that day to be like, we need this to work and look as amazing as these kids can make it look.
Sure. I'm not sure how much you want to talk about it because I know that it's still kind of under wraps a little bit, but
so I can give a very basic.
Sure.
When the film opens up, children are going about doing adult activities like getting their kids ready for school, forgetting about the snack bucket, and going to an office with cubicles. So there's a little bit of meta humor in there that kids are doing things adults would do. And there's a reason for that, but you'll have to watch the film to find out.
Gotcha. How is the pre-production kind of going?
Yeah, so I finished writing it. And I am going to so my daughter Eliza is going to play the lead. She was recently in The Sound of Music. She's a very good singer. She is an award-winning dancer. She kills it at dance competitions.
Was Eliza the girl in The Gates?
So she's the oldest one.
She's your oldest. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
She's my oldest daughter. And so the younger ones, I think, might be in the background. Okay. I know that they'll be mad at me if they're not in it. So they might be in the background. But I feel like she's at this really perfect age. She's 10 years old, going to be 11 this summer. And it's like she's at this perfect age where she is still a child, but she's just on that cliff of getting those preteen things. And so this movie, I really hope, is a celebration of childhood and enjoying it while you're there. I know, like, a lot of us are like, man, I wish, I didn't have to get up and pay bills and go to work and do all this. I want to sit down and eat cereal and watch cartoons.
I love that.
So this movie is going to be a celebration of that.
Very cool. Where does I guess getting more like sentimental here, where does like the passion for filmmaking come from, or the storytelling passion come from for you?
Yeah, so I didn't quite know what it was when I was younger, but I'm a very avid reader. I read anywhere from 9 to 10 books a month. And I have always had this superpower that when I'm reading the book, I can picture exact scenes, what's on the wall, what characters look like, what they're wearing. And I wasn't aware that not everybody does that when they read. Mm-hmm. And that really comes through my writing too. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, where it's like sometimes you're over detailed. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know where we're going to film this, so I'm going to leave a little blank. Yeah. So it can be a good and a bad. But my love of movies started when I was very little. Obviously, I love Disney, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. But I remember a tradition that we had was Mom and Dad would make cheesy popcorn and we would sit down and watch Field of Dreams. My dad was always like, this is the best movie. And so I just grew up thinking like, this is what, I want to create stories like that. I want to make things that people have hopefully never seen before. That's where sometimes, like I said, I kind of shoot for the moon, but I'd rather do that than do a movie that, maybe I tweak something, but I've seen it 50 times. Yeah. So that's kind of my goal with filmmaking and with writing is to bring those stories that you haven't seen before.
Yeah. Are there certain themes that you find, like as you write more and more, that are kind of coming through all of them?
Yeah. So previous to The Gates, I loved writing comedy. Absolutely loved it. I did a lot of improv in college, and I feel like that has helped me to figure out, like, okay, what's going to get a laugh, what's not. And so I love writing that. And with the Gates, when it was done, there was no comedy, and yet it creeped in as we kept filming.
It was hilarious.
Yes, and those are things that I wrote in, or as I was directing, I said, hey, that's really funny. Can you do it again, but maybe with this inflection?
Yeah.
And so I think that that's something that will always be a part of my writing, is there's that little bit of getting a laugh, enjoying being at the movie theater and enjoy seeing something. I think, like I said, that'll always kind of be a part of anything that I put out there.
Just a hint of comedy, even if it's opportunistic comedy on the day.
Even if I did not want it in there, it creeps in anyway. So at this point, I'm just embracing it.
I love that. We were talking earlier about your current script for Littles.
Yes.
And how you're kind of looking at it in almost a backwards fashion, where you are looking to cast certain characters so that you can then go in and write them after the fact.
Yeah, so when I was writing it, like I said, I like to get very detailed with my scripts, but I just thought, well, I don't know if a child of this age is able to pull this off.
Right.
I know there's some characters that are larger that I also have plans in my head to maybe separate into different ones. And so this was difficult to write, but it was a good challenge, because most of the time when you're writing something, with a very few exceptions that you can go back and say, oh, this actor would fit this role perfectly. Versus in this case, I kind of have the script 90% done. And once I cast it, I might go back in and say, this is this child's strengths. This is how they're going to shine. Maybe doing this long of a line, maybe we condense it. This one, maybe they're not getting the joke, but maybe we can do some physical humor with it.
Nice.
And so that's where, until I know who's cast, I don't feel like the script will actually be done.
Right.
But as a script writer, have this motto after the Gates and after this, that no script is ever complete until it is up on the movie screen. Because anything can happen in an independent film, where you might lose a character, you might gain a character, you might have to change locations. Maybe you do a scene and it is not working at all.
Yep.
And so scripts, I feel like there's this thought process that they are done, and they're really living, breathing, ever-changing things. And that's why I love being a scriptwriter and also directing, because I don't have to be like, hey, can I have permission to change this? I'm like, we're doing it different. And that's kind of, that's the dream, is that I can put more stories like that out into the world, and I have that control over them to make them the best that they can be.
Sure. And you have the flexibility to pivot when it needs to be pivoted. You don't have to, like you said, get permission or feel like you're taking too much liberty away from someone else's story.
Yes. I would love someday to have maybe one of my scripts that I think, I don't know if I could do this independently. I have a couple with such big location ideas that I'm like, I have no idea where I would film this. And some of those, it's like, I hope someday that, I can get my name out there, meet the right people, and have them be like, this script is wonderful. We want to make it. And I can just sit there on set and be like, yay, any changes you want? Yep, you do it. That's how much I love getting my stories out there, that if you have to change something, you just have to make it work for you and for your actors.
Absolutely. Who, I guess, are some of your bigger, artistic influences? Filmmakers or authors or characters? We got the Princess Leia.
Yes, I love Carrie Fisher,
Wonderful.
but I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. It's really, really great.
Okay.
I wouldn't be like, that's the best. She is one of the most wonderful script doctors, and was one of the most wonderful script doctors in Hollywood.
Wow.
A script would be done, and they would send it to her, and they'd be like, this isn't quite working, and she would rework it. She did Hook. She did Sister Act. I'm trying to think.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, so there's a whole list. I think Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I think I might be wrong on that one. But yes, I definitely love her as a writer. I've read several of her novels, and they're so witty and funny, and none of that came out in Star Wars. There's tiny moments, but to see her unleashed is incredible. So I know I definitely have her to strive to. I also love Penelope Spheris.
Okay.
When I graduated, I wrote a 30-page dissertation on Wayne's World, because because obviously, as a character on SNL, Mike Myers wrote the script, but it is dude jokes. And if you look at that script compared to what came out on the screen, the changes that she made, to add in from a female's point of view, I think are what make that movie actually really funny.
Sure. And relatable for the next 30 years.
Yes. Another one is Little Rascals. I know
God, yes.
when I was a child, I love that movie. And it's child humor. And again, same director, Penelope Spheris. And so she's another one that, like, I love watching her movies.
Wow. I love that. I'll check them out. As we kind of wrap up, any thoughts or anything else you want to discuss, while we're here?
Yes. So alongside making films, I've been kind of trying to find my place in the Iowa film community. Because like I said, lighting, sound, I understand them. They're not my strength. So it's like, what is my strength? What is my superpower in the Iowa film community? And that's where I kind of took inspiration from Carrie Fisher to say, like, I would love to provide, and again, I'm a little ways away from doing this, but I would love to provide a script doctor type of process for people to say, I have this script, something's not working.
Yeah.
Or I have this script, we can't find this location. How do we find it? Or like, how do we rewrite it?
Modifies for what we do have.
Yes. Yeah. And so kind of a new mind to step in and say, this is how we can either make your vision come to life, or this is how we can rewrite it and keep the story. So I'm kind of trying to figure out how to do that, because a lot of the casting information you see is like, we already are there. We already are casting. We already have a crew.
Right.
So that's where I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I get in to be able to provide that service from the beginning?
Sure.
So yeah, that's kind of goals in my head is getting Littles up on the screen, and then kind of figuring out how to get my footing in the door to offer that script assistance.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, here it is. This is, if you are needing a script doctoring service, have a chat with Tiffany.
Yes, definitely. I love all genres. So anything you bring me, I'm going to be like, oh, that's cool. I have an idea for this. And I think that makes me well suited to do something like that, is I'm not pigeonholed.
Right.
I love really bad horror films. I love really good horror films, comedy, anything. So, yeah.
How can people get a hold of you, Tiffany?
So I do have a Facebook page. My production company is TNT KBM Productions. If you don't get it, TNT Kaboom Productions. And then we also have the Gates page that is just for that film, where you can find all of the upcoming showings. And when we do the release, it will be both on that page and on the production TNT page.
Excellent. Any last thoughts before we go?
I'm very excited to become a part of the Iowa film family.
Yeah.
And ready for another adventure.
Well, welcome back. We're glad you're here, and thank you for making the gates for us.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.